saya dah lama bila saya baca balik, saya kadang-kadang macam takut saya silap beritahu awak. For yang untuk osmosis, water potentials, okay. So water potentials will decrease if solute increase, and then water potentials will increase if we exert pressure on the water surface, okay. So pressure increase, water potential will increase, solute increase, water potentials will decrease, okay. So ini ada apa-apa soalan ke sebelum kita mulakan untuk tajuk baru? Okay, Sairin? Okay
Okey.
tak?
Okey.
Tak ada.
Tak ada.
Saya tak dapat lagi nak ingat nama-nama kelas awak lah. Saya kena print out dan letak sebelah saya baru saya ingat. Okay, so today we will discuss about mineral nutrition. Okay, so next semester you will take plant nutrition. Okay, so if you look at our course online, there are a lot of topic that we need to cover for minggu ketiga. Okay, so saya takut sangat terlampau banyak. There's quite a lot of topics we need to discuss for today's, okay. Tapi saya akan summariskan topik-topik yang ada dalam our course outline into 5 topics, okay. So today basically we will discuss about essential nutrients functions, what is the functions of nutrient in plants, what are the elements required by plants, and then we also will discuss about nitrogens, okay. There's specials about nitrogens, okay, because nitrogens quite dynamic in our nature. It can be transformed from one conditions to another conditions. So we will discuss about the nitrogens transformations or biogeochemicals, or in other words, nitrogen cycles in our nature. We also will discuss about root, soils, and also microbes, how these 3 components interact with each other to provide nutrients to the plants, okay. And then the last topic we will discuss about mineral nutrient assimilations. When the plants has taken up the nutrients from soils, how these nutrients or these elements will be incorporated into compound in plants, okay. So without further ado, let us continue to our first topic, which is essentials plant nutrients, okay. What is plant nutrition? Okay, so basically plant nutrition is study how plant obtains what kind of elements required by the plants, what is the functions of that elements, how they can be assimilated within the plant tissue and components. Essentials element for plant nutrition. Okay, like other living organisms, plant also require nutrition. Okay, however, what is the difference between animals, humans, and also plant in terms of their nutrients requirements? Apa yang membezakan dia? So you know that we all know that plant is heterotroph. Okay, what is heterotroph? Apa dia heterotroph?
Bukan sendiri.
They can produce their own foods. They can produce their own compounds. Okay. However, to produce this compound foods, plant also required precursor or compound as a bahan mentah to produce foods. Okay. So berbalik pada soalan saya tadi, apa beza nutrients dalam haiwan, manusia ataupun tumbuhan? What is the difference nutrient requirement between animals, humans and plants? Okay. So plant is autotroph. We are heterotroph. So the nutrient requirement is quite different in terms of the forms of nutrients required by the plants. Plant required elements. Okay, the simplest forms of elements. Okay, macam kita kita perlukan molecules. Kita perlukan carbohydrates, we require proteins, vitamins, fats, lipids. But plant, they can produce all that molecules or compounds. So they need precursor, bahan mentah, the raw materials to produce carbohydrate, proteins, lipids, and etc. So the nutrient required in plants, they require elements. Okay, dia perlukan elements, nitrogen, phosphorus, NPK, and other elements. Okay. So basically, there are hundreds of elements in our nature. Betul tak? Kalau awak refer to periodic tables, berapa elements ada dalam tu? Siapa ingat? Awak ingat ke? Tak ingat. Saya pun tak ingat. Awak semua boleh dengar suara saya tak? Saya sebenarnya batuk ni. Boleh, tak saya sakit. Boleh dengar?
Boleh.
So there are hundreds of elements exist in our nature. But do the plants require all that elements? No. Plant only require certain of elements for their nutrition. Okay, basically these elements can be divided into several groups. Okay, the basic one is we can divide these elements into macronutrients and micronutrients. What is macronutrients? What is micronutrients? Okay, based on the names, macro means it require in large amounts. Okay, how large? How much plants require these macronutrients? Okay, so on average, basically the plants require these elements more than 10 micromoles per kg of dry wicks. Okay, or 1% from plant dry wicks. Okay, 0 micromoles berapa ya? 0.1%. Okay, more than 0.1% of plant dry wicks. Okay, so that is macronutrients. So macronutrients can be further divided into primary macronutrients and also secondary macronutrients. What is the difference between primary macronutrients and secondary macronutrients? Secondary macronutrients. Okay, so primary macronutrients usually the limiting factor for plant growth. Okay, if we supply to the plants micronutrients or secondary micronutrients, the plant's growth will kita panggil apa? Statics. Okay, plateau. Dia takkan grow, dia tak optimum. Okay, but if we apply this macronutrients, which is NPK, the growth will dia akan tumbuh exponentially. Okay, for micronutrients, this is the elements that required by plants in small quantity. Okay, sorry, this kalau dekat slide saya ni large quantity, tapi is small quantities compared to macronutrients. Okay, awak boleh nampak slide saya ke?
Boleh.
So berapa banyak yang tumbuhan perlukan untuk micronutrients? Biasanya tumbuhan perlukan kurang daripada 10 millimolar per kg dry wicks. Okay, millimoles ataupun lower than 0.1% of plant dry wicks. Okay, so how we know that plant required these macronutrients and micronutrients from all of elements that are available in our nature? Okay, there are hundreds of elements available or exist in our nature, but why plant required, or why we categorize these 17 elements as essentials? What are the characteristics? So this are the characteristic of these nutrients. Okay, so any elements that falls into this characteristic, we can consider that element as essentials for plant nutrition. Okay, so what are the characteristics? There are four characteristics to determine the essentiality of this element. First, plant cannot complete its life cycles, okay, without these elements. So without nitrogen, without micronutrients, without micronutrients, plant cannot complete its life cycles. Okay. In fact, the absence of one of these elements will cause plant death. Okay. Kalau nitrogen tak ada langsung dalam tumbuhan tu, plant akan mati. Okay. Similarly, if chlorine, for example, micronutrients does not exist in that plants, plant will die. Okay, dia akan mati. So the second characteristic is these elements are directly involved in plant growth and reproductions. Okay, so why these elements are essentials? Because it directly involved in plant growth and also reproductions. Okay, for example, nitrogens, the most important elements in plant nutrition. It is required for plant to produce amino acids. Okay, to synthesize proteins. Nitrogen also is required by plant to produce chlorophylls. Okay, so without nitrogens, plant will die. Okay, kenapa plant akan mati? Sebab plant cannot synthesis amino acids, the building blocks for organisms. Plant also cannot synthesis chlorophyll. Okay, the main machinery for photosynthesis. Okay, that's why these elements are essentials. And the third characteristic is the functions of this element cannot be replaced by other elements. Okay, so for example, nitrogens. Nitrogens is required by plant to synthesize proteins, and also it required for plant to synthesize chlorophylls. Okay, so plant cannot replace the functions of nitrogens to produce chlorophylls. Okay, chlorophylls is important in nitrogen is a very important structural component in chlorophylls. Okay, so we cannot replace nitrogens with other elements to produce chlorophylls. Okay, same goes to other elements in essentials plant nutrition. Okay, there are 17 elements, so these all these elements, the functions of all these elements cannot be replaced by other elements. They play very specific functions in plant physiology. And the last characteristic, most plant need this element to survive. Okay, not most plant, all plant need this element to survive. Okay, so plant require nitrogens, all plant require nitrogens. There's no plant that not require nitrogens. Okay, so nanti saya akan betulkan ayat ni. So what are the elements required by plant? What are these essentials plant nutritions? Okay, the element is carbon, oxygens, hydrogens, okay, nitrogens, potassium, phosphorus, calcium, magnesium, sulfur, chlorine, iron, manganese, boron, zinc, copper, molybdenum, and also the last one, nickels. Okay, so saya nak awak hafal semua ni. There are 17 elements that required by plant as their essentials nutrients. So basically, we can group or divide or class this element into several groups. Okay, for example, we can classify all these elements into two bigger groups: non-minerals and also minerals. What is non-minerals? What is mineral? Non-minerals is the elements that can be taken up by plant not from soils, okay? Bukan daripada tanah. Kalau non-minerals ni, there are three elements that can be absorbed by plant from daripada bukan tanah, okay? From non-mineral, which are carbon, oxygens, and hydrogens. Okay, so carbon can be acquired or can be taken up by plant from air. Okay, especially from carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is absorbed by plant from air, okay, melalui daun. Okay, so same goes to oxygens. Oxygens can be absorbed by plant from the air or water. Okay, so hydrogens, water molecules can supply oxygens to the plants. Okay, in the photosynthesis process, the water molecule will be dissociated into oxygens and hydrogens. Okay, so plant can absorb oxygens either from water ataupun daripada udara. So hydrogens pun sama juga. Plant hydrogens melalui air saja. Okay, so plant can get hydrogens from water. And the other groups is minerals. Mineral is elements or nutrients that can be taken up or absorbed by plant from soils. Okay, so ada 14 daripada elements in essentials plant nutrients adalah daripada tanah. Okay, so the mineral elements can be further divided into primary macronutrients, secondary macronutrients and also micronutrients. Okay, so first kita boleh bahagikan, we can divide it all the 17 essential plant nutrients into two groups, which are first non-minerals, where this element can be taken up by plant by from air ataupun daripada air. And the second group is mineral. Mineral is elements that can be taken up by plant from soil. Okay, so these mineral elements can be further divided into two major groups. Okay, macronutrients and also micronutrients. Macro means large quantity, micro means small quantity. Okay, it required by plant in small quantity, and for macronutrients it required by plants in large amounts. Okay, for macronutrients we can further divide the elements in these groups into two subgroups, which is primary macronutrients and secondary macronutrients. Primary macronutrients is NPK. Okay, why we call it primary macronutrients? Because first, they are limiting factor for plant growth. Okay, so nutrients ni sangat penting. So maksud limiting factor ni apa? Maksud dia dalam tanah ni biasanya dia yang menentukan yield, dia yang menentukan pertumbuhan. Sebab itulah we biasanya dekat ladang kita akan supply baja NPK. Okay, and then the other macronutrients adalah secondary macronutrients. These elements is required by plant in small amount compared to primary macronutrients. However, walaupun dia lebih kecil diperlukan daripada macronutrients, this secondary macronutrients is required lebih banyak if we compare to micronutrients. Okay, so micronutrients biasanya diperlukan dalam 4 per million, okay, ppm. Kalau macronutrients lebih daripada 0.1% daripada dry weights. Okay, so secondary macronutrients includes calcium, magnesium dan sulfur. Okay, so awak ingat ada 3 elements dalam non-minerals, which is carbon, oxygens and also hydrogens. And there are also 3 elements in primary macronutrients, which are nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. Okay, NPK. In secondary macronutrients, there are also 3 elements in this group, which is calcium, magnesium and also sulfur. Untuk micronutrients ada berapa? Ada 8. The elements in micronutrients groups adalah chlorines, irons, manganese, boron, zinc, copper, molybdenum, nickels. Okay, even though they are required by plant in very small amounts, their functions important, dia punya fungsi sama penting macam macronutrients. Kalau tak ada micronutrients, plant also cannot survive dia tak boleh complete life cycles, okay, dia akan mati. Okay, so macronutrients, also certain books refer macronutrients as a major elements, and micronutrients refer, in certain books micronutrients refer as trace elements. Okay, kalau kita cakap trace element, it refers to micronutrients. Kalau kita cakap major elements, it refer to macronutrients. So any questions? Any questions? Ada soalan tak?
Tak ada.
So far
Ada.
okay.
Okay ya.
Okay.
So
So far okay.
okay. Kalau tak ada soalan, saya ada soalan. How to determine the essentiality of elements in plant nutrition? Okay. So how we can determine the essentiality of an elements in plant nutrition? Okay. Because later in plant nutrition, kita bukan ada sahaja essentials elements, we also have beneficials elements. What's the difference between beneficials and essentials? Essentials tadi dia, kalau awak ditanya how to determine the essentiality, maksudnya you must explain the 4 characteristics of essential elements tadi. Okay, kalau beneficial element, dia tak perlukan oleh semua tumbuhan, but it presents will enhance plant growth. Okay, okay, boleh tak?
Boleh.
Okay, now we move to second topics, functions of nutrients. Okay, so you know that plant required 17 essentials elemen-elemen yang perlu dalam nutrisi tumbuhan. So what is the functions of these elements? Okay, so these are mineral elements can be absorbed by plant from soils. Okay, so primary macronutrients are NPK. Together they are made up the trio known as NPK. NPK ni kalau awak pergi kedai nak beli baja, biasanya baja dalam bentuk NPK. Okay, because they are major elements, the most required elements by plants. Other important nutrients are calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. Okay, so this is secondary macro nutrients. And for micronutrients tadi saya dah terangkan ada 8: boron, chlorine, manganese, irons, nickel, copper, zinc, and also molybdenum. So they are also non-fertilizer elements. Non-fertilizer elements biasanya kenapa selain daripada non-minerals, hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen also known as non-fertilizer. Why? Because they can be found abundantly in our environments. Okay, usually plant will not face any problem to absorb hydrogens, carbon, and also oxygens. Okay. So these are the functions or the roles of each element in plant physiology. Okay, for example, carbon, oxygens, and hydrogens consist of carbohydrates. Okay, it all required for photosynthesis process. Okay, because carbons is the precursor, carbohydrate is the precursor for sugar synthesis in photosynthesis. And oxygen is required for electron transfer during photosynthesis process. Same goes to hydrogens. Hydrogens are usually component of water, okay, where the metabolic process, all metabolic process in plant occur in water mediums. Okay, so hydrogen is very important because part of water molecules. Nitrogens, okay, what is the functions or roles of nitrogens in plants? So basically, nitrogens is required for amino acid synthesis, okay, for protein synthesis. Apart from that, it also required for carbohydrate translocations and also involved in photosynthesis. How nitrogens can be involved in photosynthesis? Okay, so nitrogens can play a role, uh, can play several roles during photosynthesis process. Okay, for example, the first one, chlorophyll itself. The chlorophyll structure required nitrogens. Okay, nanti saya akan tunjukkan chlorophyll structure, how nitrogen can be part of chlorophyll structure. Apart from that, how nitrogens can very important in photosynthesis process. We know that nitrogens is required for synthesis of amino acids. Okay, so during photosynthesis, there are a lot of enzymes. Okay, required for that process. So enzymes, the upper basic unit of enzymes. Enzyme is part of proteins. Okay, so to build the enzyme to synthesize these enzymes, plant required nitrogens. Okay, so that's why nitrogens are important and involved in photosynthesis process. Phosphorus. Apart from that, nitrogens also important component in nucleic acids. Okay, kalau nanti kita tengok dekat sugar structure, the nucleic acid tu dia ada nitrogens components. Potassiums. Okay, potassiums is important or involved in photosynthesis process, carbohydrate translocations, protein synthesis. Why? Potassiums usually play a role as a cofactor or enzyme activator. What is enzyme activator? You know that enzymes, it has active site, okay, where it can bind with substrates and initiates metabolic process. Okay, so sometimes this active site is not exposed for enzymes and substrate interactions. Okay, so to activate this active site, they need enzymes, not enzyme, coenzymes. Okay, and elements that can bind to enzymes and activate or expose the active site. Okay, so biasanya potassiums dia berfungsi sebagai enzyme activator in metabolic process. A lot of enzymes require potassiums as an activator. Apart from that, how potassium can involve in photosynthesis? We know that photosynthesis required carbohydrates. Okay, so carbohydrate can enter into leaf cells through stomata. So potassiums is very important in stomata opening and closure. Okay, so tak macam nitrogens ataupun potassiums, macam phosphorus, potassiums exist in plant tissue and cells in ions. Okay, in potassium ions. So potassium jarang incorporated into plant compounds. Okay, dia biasanya dalam bentuk ion. So in stomata, we know that stomata opening and closure is controlled by gut cells. Okay, so since potassiums exist in plant tissue in ions, it will influence the water apa itu osmosis, water potentials. Okay, it will influence water potentials. So to induce stomata openings, the gut cells will dia akan take a lot of potassiums, take in a lot of potassium ions. Okay, so untuk gut cells tu terbuka, stomata tu terbuka, gut cell mestilah dalam bentuk turgids. Okay, so macam mana dia nak to induce the turgidity of gut cells by water influx. Okay, water movement into gut cells. Okay, so before water can move into the gut cell must take in a lot of potassium ions. Okay, so what happens when gut cells take in a lot of potassium ion? The water potentials become reduced. Okay, So when the water potentials in gut cell reduce, it will induce the movement of water into the gut cells. Okay, so the gut cell become turgid and the stomata will opens. So on the other hand, to close the stomata, macam mana gut cell buat? It will pump out the potassium ions. Okay, so the movement of potassium ion out from gut cells will increase the water potentials in gut cell. So the water will move out from gut cells. Okay, so dia jadi lembik. So the stomata opening tu dia akan tertutup. Phosphorus. Phosphorus also important for protein synthesis. Apart from that, it also play a role as coenzymes, components in nucleic acid structure, metabolic substrates, and also important in energy transfer. So energy in metabolic process biasanya dalam bentuk ATP. Okay, so phosphorus is required to synthesis the ATP. Okay, adenosine triphosphate. For secondary metabolite, we have magnesium, sulfur, and also chlorines. Okay, magnesiums macam potassium is usually berfungsi sebagai enzim cofactor. Apart from that, magnesium also is components of chlorophylls. Okay, so if you look at chlorophyll structure, okay, dia punya structure dia ada, kita panggil ada heme structure. Okay, so this heme structure is sama macam structure dekat hemoglobins. Okay, kalau awak tengok chlorophyll structure tu dekat tengah-tengah dia, the center of the structure we call heme structure. Okay, so the heme structure ni dia sama macam structure hemoglobins. The difference is that in hemoglobin the central element is ions. Okay, tapi dalam chlorophyll the central element is magnesium. Okay, so that's why magnesium is required for chlorophyll synthesis. Sulfur, component of certain amino acids and also plant proteins. Okay, sulfur is required especially for caseins. Okay, there are a lot of proteins, amino acids, but usually sulfur is required for synthesis of caseins. Chlorines involved in oxygen's productions and photosynthesis. Okay. Ions involved in chlorophyll synthesis and enzymes electron transfer. Okay, how ions involved in chlorophyll synthesis? Ion is not part of chlorophyll structure, but ion is required by plant for synthesis of chlorophylls. Okay, so kalau awak tengok pokok yang kekurangan ions or ferrums, apa yang awak nampak? Dia akan warna kuning. Sebab apa? Chlorophyll, concentrations of chlorophylls sangat rendah. Ataupun kita panggil keadaan ini adalah chlorosis. Okay, where the concentrations of chlorophylls very low in leaf. Okay. Manganese controls several oxidation reaction systems and photosynthesis. Boron, important in sugar translocations and carbohydrate metabolisms. Zinc involved with enzymes that regulate various enzymes. Copper, catalyzed for respirations, components of various enzymes. Molybdenums involved in nitrogen fixations, transforming nitrates to ammoniums. Okay, so molybdenum is required for synthesis of nitrogenase. Okay, nitrogenase is enzymes that involve in nitrogen fixations. Not all plant can fix the atmospheric nitrogens into ammoniums. Okay, only certain plant can fix these atmospheric nitrogens into plant usable forms. Okay, pokok dalam kumpulan legumes, okay, pokok kekacang, dia boleh fix the atmospheric nitrogens into ammoniums. Okay, so later saya akan discuss. Saya tak discuss ya, so saya sepatutnya discuss dulu. Tak apa. So molybdenum tadi diperlukan oleh pokok kekacang untuk sintesis nitrogenous enzymes. So the nitrogenous enzyme is required by plant to fix the atmospheric nitrogen into ammoniums. Apart from that, molybdenum also required involved in transforming process of nitrate into ammoniums. Okay. So nanti kalau kita tengok kalau certain pokok yang kekurangan molybdenum, dia punya symptoms macam nitrogen toxicity. Okay. Tapi sebenarnya bila we do chemical analysis, the plant is not suffer from nitrogen's toxicity, but it suffer from molybdenum deficiency. Sebab apa? Nitrates dalam tumbuhan tu tak boleh diubah kepada ammoniums. Okay? Nitrates dan ammoniums adalah toksik dalam tumbuhan. Dia perlu segera diubah kepada amino acids. Okay? So nickel is necessary for proper functioning of urease and seed germinations. Okay.
Doktor,
Tak ada. Ya, apa dia?
urease tu apa?
Urease adalah enzymes. Urease adalah enzymes saya tak ingat dia transform urea kepada apa. Di dalam tumbuhan, urea, okay, adalah urea is one form, salah satu bentuk nitrogen dalam tumbuhan. Okay. Tapi urea tu seems like ammoniums, dia adalah toxic kepada tumbuhan. So dia perlu diubah kepada bentuk lain. So saya tak ingat urease ni ubah urea dalam bentuk apa. Okay. So saya terlupa, nanti saya cek balik. Okay. So another important aspect in plant nutrients is the available forms of this element. Okay, saya terlupa include dalam slide ni. Tak ada pun dalam slide ni yang saya tunjukkan. Nanti saya tunjukkan. For example, okay, unrequired nitrogen, this mineral elements, okay, but not all kind of nitrogens or any other mineral elements is available for plant nutrition. Okay, maksud saya tak semua bentuk elements ini boleh diabsorb oleh tumbuhan. Okay, macam mana saya nak cakap ya. So, this element, all of these mineral elements is absorbed by the plants in the form of ionic compounds. Okay, saya include tak? Saya tak ingat. Ini adalah sangat penting ya. So essential element for plant nutrition. Essential element required by plants, elementals, nutrients, inorganics, simplest chemical forms. Okay. Saya tak include lah. Salah satu aspek yang paling penting yang perlu awak ingat dalam plant nutrition adalah tak semua bentuk elements ni boleh diserap oleh tumbuhan. Okay. Saya bagi contoh nitrogen. Dalam kita punya persekitaran, nitrogen dia dalam bentuk apa kebanyakannya?
Yes.
Dalam bentuk apa? Nitrogen biasanya dalam kita punya environment ni wujud dalam bentuk apa? Kalau awak ingat.
Yes.
Gas.
Dalam bentuk gas. So if nitrogen in a gas forms, it will consider as unavailable forms for plant nutrients uptakes. Okay. Kalau nitrogen dalam bentuk gas, kita anggap dia tak boleh diserap oleh tumbuhan untuk dia punya nutrisi. Saya punya slide, awak nampak ke? Kenapa gelap pula saya punya ni? Allah. Awak nampak slide saya ke?
Nampak.
Nampak.
Awak nampak page berapa ya?
Tak nampak.
Okay. Nutrient function.
Saya punya screen tak boleh pula. So nitrogens are only available for plant uptakes if it in the form of ammonia and also nitrates. Okay. Phosphorus is available for plant for nutrient uptake in the form of phosphate. Potassiums are available for plant nutrient uptake in the form of nutrients ion. Manganese in manganese ion, sulfur in sulfate, calcium in calcium ion, carbons in a boric, okay, borons, boric acids, chlorine in chloride ions, manganese, manganite ions, ions in iron 2 and also iron 3 ion, nickels in nickels ion, copper in cupric ions, zinc, zinc 2 plus ions, molybdenums in molybdate ions. Okay, so there are certain conditions for these elements for these elements become available for plant nutrients uptakes. Okay. Punya PowerPoint tak bergerak lah. Awak boleh nampak ke? Awak boleh nampak slide ni je, nutrient function saja kan?
Yes.
Doktor.
Sekejap ya. So itu adalah the availability forms of these elements. Very important. Okay, saya nak awak ingat available forms untuk semua elements ni. Tapi saya tak include dalam saya punya slide pula. Okay, sorry. Okay. Kita take a break sekejap 5 minit. Saya betulkan sekejap slide saya. Okay, nanti kita sambung 10.55. Okay? Boleh?
Boleh
Sorry ya.
doktor.
Okay,
Kita take fast sekejap.
Okay.
Okey semua. Boleh kita sambung tak?
Boleh.
Boleh
sorry
doktor.
suara saya jelas kan, tapi tekak saya sakit lah. Tekak saya sebab dekat kita punya kuliah ni banyak sangat test positif. Saya pula banyak jumpa dengan student minggu lepas buat lab, FYP labs untuk postgraduate labs. Tapi alhamdulillah lah tak ada pun student-students ataupun orang yang saya jumpa dekat kuliah tu positif ataupun close contact. So saya risau juga, sekarang tengah sakit tekak kan. Awak semua dah dapat vaksin belum? Ada yang tak ambil vaksin ke?
Dah
Dah
lengkap.
dapat dah. Wah.
Dah complete dah.
So saya rasa salah satu syarat untuk awak masuk dalam kampus later lah, kalau awak dibenarkan masuk kampus, salah satu syarat dia adalah awak perlu divaksin. Kalau awak tak lengkap vaksin, saya rasa universiti tak bagi awak masuk masuk ke dalam kampus. Sebab ada seorang students daripada UMT, dia buat internships dekat kita punya kuliah. So saya jadi supervisor dia. Dia masuk bulan 8 tapi masa tu dia dapat vaksin tapi baru first dose. So kuliah tak bagi dia masuk. Sampailah bulan 10, 2 months selepas sepatutnya dia lapor diri tu, baru dapat dos kedua, lepas 14 hari barulah kuliah bagi. Okay. So hopefully next semester awak akan ada kelas plant nutrition. Okay, kalau saya ajar lagi lah. So hopefully kita dah boleh lah jumpa face to face. Okay. So let us continue our topic. Okay. So sorry saya lupa masuk maklumat ni dalam slide saya. Padahal benda ni sangat penting, ni saya nak awak ingat. Okay, kalau boleh awak ingat tables ni. Okay. So tadi kita ada 17 elements that are considered as essentials for plant nutrition. Out of 17 elements, 14 elements can be taken up by plants from soils. Okay, so these elements exist in our nature, in our environments, in different kind of forms. Okay, for example, nitrogens can exist in our environments in the form of gas. Sometimes it can exist in the form of solids, okay, in ammonia or in urea. But not all forms of these elements are available for plant uptakes. Okay, tak semua bentuk elements yang wujud dalam kita punya persekitaran ni available, tersedia for plant uptakes, okay, untuk diambil oleh tumbuhan. So plant can only uptakes all these elements in certain forms. Okay, for example, nitrogens that I said earlier can only be uptaken by plants in the form of nitrates and also ammonia. Potassiums can only be uptaken by plants or available for plant uptakes in the form of potassium ions. Okay. Magnesium 2+. Sodium plus. Okay. For phosphorus, it available for plant uptake in two different kinds of phosphorus, which is phosphide H2PO-4 and lagi satu HPO4+. For sulfur, its available form is in the form of sulfate ions. Kalau chlorines, manganese, untuk yang micronutrients biasanya dalam bentuk dia punya ions. Untuk borons and molybdite, it available in the form of boric acids, molybdite, molybdenum. Available forms molybdenum for plant uptake is molybdate ions. Okay. So ingatlah ni. Ada lain kena ingat. Kita tadi dah discuss. Okay. So in this topic, in this course, okay, dalam subjek ni ataupun dalam spesifiknya dalam topik ni, I will not go into detail what is the functions of secondary micronutrients, what is the functions of micronutrients. Kita akan discuss primary macronutrients. Kalau kita nak tengok satu-satu 17 elemen tu sangat banyak. Okay, satu elemen tu dia kadang-kadang ada lebih daripada 10 fungsi dia. Okay, so saya tak nak fokus sangat the functions. Awak boleh check later dekat mana sumber rujukan. Lagipun untuk functions awak akan belajar very details in plant nutrition. Okay. For plant physiology, we will discuss only major or primary macronutrients. Okay. So primary micronutrients include nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. These also known as major elements or limiting factor for plant growth. Nitrogens are available for plant uptake in the form of nitrates and also ammoniums. So what is the functions of nitrogens? Okay, tadi kita dah bincang. Nitrogens is a structural components. Okay, part of components of amino acids. Okay, so all amino acids contains nitrogens. Okay. Nitrogen also is structural components of nucleotide, cell membranes. Okay, why cell membranes ada nitrogens? Because kita tahu dalam kita punya cell membrane dia ada bilayer. Okay, so phospholipid bilayer. In that phospholipid bilayer ada juga nitrogens elements that made up that phospholipid bilayer. Chlorophylls, later we will check, kita akan tengok macam mana structure components chlorophylls, dia ada nitrogens. ATP also require nitrogens as their structure components, and also many other secondary metabolite, terpenes, alkaloids, flavonoids, all contains nitrogens. Okay, so this all these elements, okay, especially macronutrients, if plant suffer from this element, okay, plant will display certain characteristic deficiency symptoms. Okay, for example, if plant suffer from nitrogen deficiency, we can observe that plant will experience reduced growth and also chlorosis. Okay, what is mean by chlorosis? Chlorosis is a symptoms whereby plant will show a light yellow leaf. Okay, dia punya daun tu tak warna hijau. Biasa daun tu warna hijau sebab ada chlorophylls. But when plant suffer from nitrogens, it will show chlorosis symptoms. Dia punya daun akan warna kuning sebab daun tu kekurangan chlorophylls. Okay, so for phosphorus is available form for plant uptake is phosphate. Okay, so phosphorus is structural component of nucleotide, ATP, and also cell membranes. Okay, so plant that suffer from phosphorus deficiency will show dark purplish on leaf. Okay, kita akan tengok pokok tu dia berwarna, daun dia berwarna purple. Okay, so don't confuse with other pigments in plant leaf. Okay, for example, in certain plant leaf, the chlorophyll is not green, it different color. A lot of macam pokok puding. Pokok puding kalau awak tengok ada warna merah, ada warna kuning, kan? Sama juga macam pokok hati-hati, pokok bunga hati-hati itu dia punya daun warna merah, warna kuning ada. So don't confuse kalau awak jumpa pokok yang kadang-kadang dia punya normal conditions dia warna tu. Okay, ini kalau kita tengok untuk deficiency symptoms ni adalah in usually in green plant. Okay, macam pokok jagung. Okay, kita tahu pokok jagung daun dia warna hijau, tapi in certain conditions we observe that the leaf become dark purplish. Okay, so that is a sign of the plant suffer from phosphorus deficiency. Okay, for potassiums regulate the openings and closing of stomata. Okay, macam saya cakap tadi, potassiums exist in plant tissues and in plant cells in the form of ions. Okay, potassiums, large of potassium is not incorporated into plant structure or plant compounds. Dia dalam bentuk ion saja. So when potassium exists in a form of ions, it will influence the water water potentials, okay, the osmotic pressure of water. Potassiums also trigger activations of many important enzymes such as ATPase. Okay, ATPase is enzymes that can synthesize ATP at mitochondria membranes. Okay, kita dah bincangkan sama juga dengan dekat chlorophylls, dia punya membranes ada ATPase. So ATPase ni, kalau ATPase nak generate proteins, it will pump out the hydrogens ions out from cell membranes. Okay, so the concentrations of hydrogen ion dekat luar cell membranes tu, dia akan induce hydrogen ion to pass through ATPase. Okay, so the movement of hydrogen ion will induce ATPase to synthesis ATP. Okay, kalau masih ingat lagi. Potassium ion also involved in activations of nitrate reductase. Okay, nitrate reductase reduce nitrate to ammonia and also start synthesis. Okay, so the symptoms of potassium deficiency is leaf marginal necrosis and also brownings. Kalau awak tengok, the leaf at the edge, okay, the leaf margins become dye in green, brown color. So that symptoms of potassium deficiency. Okay. So tadi kita dah bincangkan nitrogen's functions in plants. So nitrogen is a important structure in amino acids. Okay. All amino acid contains nitrogens in its amines groups. Okay. So ni adalah amines group. Kita ada side chains, kita ada carboxyl chains. Okay, so nitrogen biasa dekat amines groups dalam amino acids. Okay, ATP. Okay, so ATP also contains nitrogens in its structure components. Okay, di dekat, this is sugar, ini phosphate, 3 phosphates, ini adalah adenosines. Okay, this is adenosine structure. Okay, adenosine structure contains nitrogens. Okay, this is chlorophyll structure. Okay, so macam saya cakap tadi, this is a heme structure. Awak nampak kan heme structure ni? Yang ada 4 nitrogens and magnesiums. Okay, this is we call heme structure. Heme structure ke? Saya lupa lah namanya. Betul ke heme structure? Sekejap ya, saya tengok sekejap ya. Saya check balik ya. Okay, so this is the heme structure. Kita panggil dia heme structure. So this structure is sama, okay, same macam dalam kita punya hemoglobins. Okay, tapi kalau kita punya dalam hemoglobins, magnesiums ni replaced by ions. Okay, tapi dekat chlorophylls, dia punya center atoms in this structure is magnesiums. Okay, apart from that, nitrogen also is a component structure in nucleic acids. Okay, we have adenine, guanine, cytosines, thymines. So dekat dia punya rings ni, benzene ring, ada nitrogens. Okay, phosphorus. Okay, phosphorus also important structure in ATP. Okay, adenosine triphosphate. Okay, is important structure in nucleic acids. Okay, ini adalah nucleic acid. Dia akan bridgekan satu sugar kepada sugar yang lain. Okay, kita ada apa tadi? AGCT. Okay, adenine, guanine. So kalau ini adalah this is guanine. Okay, so this is sugar. Okay, so phosphorus ni dia akan bind dekat components yang lain. Okay, so ini adalah molecular structure apa? Siapa ingat? Ni molecular structure apa? Tak ingat ke? Awak nampak saya punya cursor ke? Nak panah ni?
Nampak.
Nampak.
So, ni untuk apa? Structure apa ni yang tepi ni? Last kali ni. Tak ingat?
Tak ingat. Tak ingat.
This is molecular structure of phospholipid by layer. Okay, ni kepala dia, ekor dia ada dua kan? Okay. So this dia punya kepala hydrophilics, dia punya ekor hydrophobics kan? Okay, so kalau awak tengok dekat sini ada phosphate atoms. Okay, so phosphate is a component structure in phospholipid bilayer. Potassiums, okay, potassiums ni saya banyak kali dah ulang, awak faham lah kan? So one of the important functions of potassiums is in stomata closing and opening. Okay, so potassiums, like what I said earlier, it exists in plant tissue in ionic forms. Okay, kalau macam nitrogens, it will be assimilate to apa? Nitrogens. Dia akan assimilate to apa? Tadi kita baru je ingat. Amino acids, nucleic acids, okay. So nitrogens, dia bila plant absorbs, dia akan digunakan untuk sintesis amino acids or synthesis ataupun assimilations. Apa maksud assimilations? Incorporated into compounds, okay. So nitrogens will be used to synthesize amino acid, apa lagi? Chlorophyll, okay. So dia bind with other elements, okay. But for potassiums, it will exist as an ion in plant tissue and cells, okay. So one of the functions of this potassium ion adalah untuk mengawal pembukaan stomata, okay. So macam mana gut cells ni nak buka lubang stoma, macam mana? Saya nak panggil siapa ya? Biar saya cek nama awak pula. Saya nak panggil Zulharis. Siapa Zulharis? Nama penuh awak siapa? Zulharis, saya lupa lah.
Muhammad Zulharis.
Okey, Zulharis, kalau awak ingat macam mana potassium ni dia boleh kawal opening and closing of stomata? Macam mana? Potassium will influence the water potentials kan? Because potassium dia dalam sel ataupun tisu tumbuhan, dia tak diasimilasikan atau it not incorporated with other molecules or compound. It exists in a ionic compound, okay, in ionic form. Dia boleh pengaruhi water potential molecules. Okay, sebab apa? Kalau nak larut dalam air, elements tu perlu dalam bentuk ion. Okay, sebagai contoh kalau kita larutkan garam, NaCl, dia jadi apa? Na plus, NaCl minus kan? Okay, so macam itulah potassium, sebab dia ions, dia boleh larut dalam air. So if it dissolve in water, it will influence the water potentials. Okay, so to open the stomata openings, the gut cell will pump in. It will take in a lot of potassium ion, kan? So water potential become lower. So air akan masuk tadi, kan? So awak faham, kan? So setakat ni ada soalan tak? Banyak ni benda kita nak cover hari ni. Banyak sangat topik. Saya takut awak banyak sangat belajar tapi sikit saja yang awak faham. So any questions? Any questions?
No.
Okay. So how to treat mineral nutrients deficiency in plants? Okay. So macam mana awak nak treat, awak nak rawat pokok yang show nutrient deficiency? Okay. First, how you know a plant suffer from nutrient deficiency? Macam mana awak nak tahu pokok tu dia ada masalah kekurangan nutrients? Apa first step yang awak nak kena buat?
Tengok physical appearance.
Tengok physical.
Tengok simptom.
Observe the plant.
So,
Observe the plant.
observe the plant, apa yang awak tengok? Tadi ada seorang cakap jawapan betul tu. Siapa lah?
The signs
Symptom.
or symptoms.
Okay. So, plant that suffer from nutrients deficiency will show certain characteristic or certain symptoms. Okay, for example, plant that suffer from nitrogen deficiency will show very low yields, slow growth, and also the important one is chlorosis. Okay, so however, there are several elements that show similar deficiency symptoms. Okay, for example, if plants suffer from nitrogens, ions, and also magnesiums, it will show chlorosis. Why? Sebab apa? Kenapa kalau pokok dia kekurangan nitrogens, magnesiums dengan ions, dia akan tunjukkan symptoms chlorosis, kekurangan chlorosis. Sebab apa? So the deficiency symptoms is related to the nutrient functions in plant. Okay. Kalau kita tahu nitrogen, dia punya fungsi adalah, salah satu fungsi yang penting adalah dia untuk hasilkan amino acids ataupun proteins. So kalau pokok tu kekurangan protein, kekurangan amino acids, dia tak boleh membesar lah. Sebab tu kita tengok dia stunted growth. Sebab amino acid proteins adalah diperlukan untuk pertumbuhan. It is building blocks for organisms. Okay. So dia punya deficiency symptoms biasanya related to the nutrients functions. Apart from that, nitrogen functions in plant adalah for chlorophyll synthesis. Okay, that's why plant that suffer from nitrogen deficiency will show chlorosis symptoms. Very low amount of chlorosis synthesized in this kind of plants. Okay, so same goes to plant that suffer from magnesiums and ions. Why? Because magnesium is required by plant to produce chlorosis. So if the plant suffer from magnesium deficiency, this plant cannot synthesize adequate chlorosis. Okay, so it will show chlorosis symptoms. And then same goes to the plant that suffer from ions. Ions is required in chlorosis synthesis. So the plant that suffer from ions will show chlorosis because it cannot synthesize adequate chlorophyll. Okay. However, we can distinguish plant that suffer from macronutrients to the plant that suffer from micronutrients. Okay. How? So usually macronutrients can be translocated within the plant organs or within the plant tissues. What is mean nutrients, macronutrients can be translocated from one organ to another organs. Okay, for example, if plants suffer from nitrogens, okay, it will degrade the nitrogens, the chlorophyll content in all the plant leaf. Okay, so the degrade nitrogens can be translocate, okay, transfer from the older leaf to the newly leaf. Okay, faham tak? So biasanya macronutrients, okay, dia adalah kita panggil nutrients yang boleh can be translocate from one organ to another organs. Okay, so this characteristic is very important. Why? If the nutrients can be translocated from one organs or one tissues to another tissues, usually if the plant suffer from these elements, the deficiency symptoms usually will appear in all the organs. Okay, for example, nitrogens can be translocated from one tissues to another tissues. Usually, nitrogens will be translocated from older tissue to new tissue. Okay? So, if the plant suffer from nitrogen deficiency, it will degrade usually chlorophylls at the older leaf, and then this degrade nitrogens will be transferred to newly leaf because newly leaf require nitrogens for chlorophyll synthesis. Okay, yang daun dah tua tu dia dah nak mati, dia punya chlorophyll di degrade kan, so nitrogennya dihantar ke organs yang baru nak tumbuh, okay, newly leaf. Okay, so deficiency symptoms kita akan nampak dekat mana? Kita akan nampak kat mana deficiency symptoms ni? Dekat bahagian pokok yang sebelah mana?
Daun.
Sebelah bawah. Daun.
Betul, daun. Tapi daun yang mana?
Oh,
Daun yang dah tua ke daun yang muda?
dah tua.
Daun yang dah tua.
Ya, betul. Daun yang dah tua. Okay, sebab apa? Nitrogen yang daun dekat tua tadi tu, dia degrade, dia translocate to new organs or new leaf. Okay. On the other hand, iron is micronutrients. Micronutrients usually are not translocated from one tissue to another tissue. Okay. So ions in plant tissue cannot be translocated or cannot be transferred from older leaf to newly leaf. So if plants suffer from iron deficiency, okay, so the plant cannot synthesize adequate amount of chlorophylls, so it will show chlorosis symptoms. The leaf will become yellow. So the yellow leaf will appear dekat mana?
Atas. Bagian new leaf.
Atas, dekat new leaf.
Dekat new
Okay.
leaf.
So macam ni. So awak nampak gambar sebelah sini, magnesiums adalah daripada macronutrients. It can be translocated. Macronutrients can be the elements can be translocated from one tissues into another tissues within the plant body. Okay, so biasanya kalau plants suffer from magnesiums, the deficiency symptoms will appear at the leaf. Okay, kalau tengok saya dekat sini, magnesium biasanya dia diperlukan untuk menghasilkan chlorophyll. So simptoms kekurangan magnesium adalah daun warna kuning, chlorosis. Okay, kat mana chlorosis tu kita tengok? Dekat older leaf. Okay, dekat daun yang dah tua. Kalau ions tadi, iron adalah micronutrients. Other micronutrients, not only ions, cannot be translocated within plant tissues. Okay, so usually the deficiency symptoms will appear at young leaf. Okay, ataupun new organs. Okay. Okay, deficiency or excessive amount of one element may induce deficiency or excessive accumulations of another elements. Okay, so this is a general fact lah yang awak perlu tahu. Untuk details elements apa yang akan influence elements yang lain, nanti kita akan belajar dalam plant nutrition. Okay, sebab kalau saya terangkan into very details, banyak yang awak kena ingat nanti. Diagnosis of disease symptoms can be complex because when relating acute deficiency symptoms to a particular essential element, an important clue is the extent of to which an element can be recycled from older leaf to younger leaf. Okay, so this is for major elements or primary macronutrients. Okay, so usually before a plant will show deficiency symptoms, there are certain periods where the plants will show reductions in growth or reductions in yields. However, this reductions is not significant. Okay, kalau kita tengok dalam mata kasar, dia tak nampak. Okay, so these periods we call hunger periods. Okay, hunger periods ni dia punya symptoms tak nampak. Okay, so if the plants experience very long hunger periods, barulah dia akan tunjukkan deficiency symptoms. Okay, macam nitrogen. Okay, so if the rate of nitrogen absorptions and the rate of nitrogen required by plant is in equilibriums, dalam keadaan yang sama, constant dalam maknanya bila plant absorbs adequate amount for its use, okay, dia tak akan degrades nitrogen compound in all the leaf. Okay, tapi kalau eggplant experience hunger periods tadi, it will degrade. Okay, tapi dia punya symptoms tu tak terlampau ketara, so kita tak nampak lah, sebab kita tahu bila daun tu dah enter the senescence periods, dia akan warna kekuningan. Okay, tapi kita ada cara selain kita tengok symptoms. Okay, there are few steps or there are few methods to determine deficiency symptoms in plants. Okay, we can use kita panggil apa? Observations. Okay, observations diagnostic maksudnya kita tengok symptoms dia, sama ada plant tu tunjukkan process symptoms ataupun dia punya growth slow, ataupun dia ada methods that can accurately determines the plant nutrient requirement is by chemical analysis. Okay, we take the plant organs, kita ambil sampel pokok tu, kita analyze guna AS machines or ICP-OS machines. We determines the amount, the percentage of element within the plant tissues. Okay, so we know that, for example, nitrogens, the range, in plant dry wicks. Okay, for example, nitrogen 1% daripada plant dry wicks. If we measure the concentrations of nitrogens is lower than it's supposed to be, so we know that the plant is in the deficiency symptoms, deficiency periods. Okay, so we can apply fertilizer. Okay, so another there are several disadvantages kalau kita gunakan observations diagnostic. Sebab apa? Salah satunya, yang pertama, bila kita tengok plant tu dia dah tunjukkan deficiency symptoms, maknanya plant tu dia dah experience the deficiency symptoms. Okay, so certain plants dia punya deficiency symptoms ni cannot be corrected, especially untuk seasonal plant. Okay, kalau perennial plant kita boleh bagi baja and then dia akan boleh hasilkan yield yang banyak, macam pokok sawit. Okay, so pokok sawit adalah perennial plant. Kalau kita tengok pokok sawit tu dia hasilkan buah yang kurang, dia tak besar, so kita boleh tambah baja and then the next cycles dia punya harvest dia akan meningkat. Tapi ada certain plants yang bila dia dah experience nutrients deficiency, kita tak boleh nak perbetulkan lagi. Sebagai contoh pokok jagung. Okay, kebanyakannya seasonal plant lah, tapi seasonal plant ni dekat certain stage. Kalau dekat mature stage kita dah tak boleh nak perbetulkan. Sebagai contoh pokok jagung yang kekurangan nitrogen, bila dia dah berbuah dia hasilkan tongkol jagung yang rendah kualiti dia. So kalau dalam stage ni, if we supply the plant with liquid nitrogens, the deficiency symptom cannot be corrected. Okay. Okey ke tak? Faham ke tak?
Faham.
Okay.
Faham tu.
So some elements such as nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium can readily move, okay, or can be translocated or can be transferred from one leaf to another leaf, okay, such as nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium ataupun major elements, okay, macronutrients. Other such as borons, ions, calciums ataupun elements dalam micronutrients are relatively immobile or cannot be translocated in most plant species. Okay, if an essential element is mobile, the deficiency symptoms tend to appear first in all the leaf. Okay, so deficiency of an immobile essential element will become evident first in younger leaf. Okay, kalau dia readily move ataupun translocate can be translocated daripada satu organ kepada organ yang lain, dia punya deficiency symptoms dekat bahagian daun yang tua. Kalau dia immobile, dia punya deficiency symptoms dekat bahagian yang muda. Okay, so this is example of macronutrients deficiency symptoms in corn. Okay, dekat pokok jagung. Okay, the first one is a healthy leaf. Plants that receive adequate amount or optimum amount of nutrients. Okay, balanced amount of nutrients. This one, phosphate. Apa ciri-ciri deficiency symptoms phosphate? Kalau ingat tadi,
Dark
apa dia?
purplish color.
Dark purplish. Okay, so dark purplish ni adalah disebabkan oleh anthocyanins accumulations. Okay, so anthocyanins ni adalah pigment yang berwarna dekat tumbuhan. Kalau awak tengok tumbuhan tu, anthocyanins awak boleh nampak dekat mana? Biasanya anthocyanins ni dekat mana? Awak ada ambil phytochemistry ke? Dah ambil kan phytochemistry?
Belum.
Okay. So anthocyanins ni adalah pigments, okay? Pigments dalam tumbuhan. So anthocyanins ni warna dia boleh berbagai-bagai warna. Dia boleh warna ungu, boleh warna merah. Okay, depend pada apa? Pada pH. Okay. So kalau pH dia tinggi, acidic, dia akan jadi warna merah. Okay. Orange ataupun kuning. Okay. So kalau dia basics, dia akan jadi warna ungu, biru. Okay. So kalau anthocyanins ni awak tengok biasanya dekat bunga. Kan? Bunga ada warna-warna berwarna-warni kan, warna merah. So pigments yang memberikan warna kepada bunga tu adalah anthocyanins. Okay. Potassium deficiency. What is the symptoms of potassium deficiency? Apa ingat tadi? Browning at leaf margins. Okay, brownings at leaf margins. Okay, dekat daun ni bahagian tepi dia, dia akan jadi warna coklat. Daun di bahagian ni mati. Okay. So tapi susah kita nak tengok in real life lah. Teorinya kalau kita kurangkan macam ni, tapi in real life kadang-kadang susah nak tengok. Sebab apa? Kadang-kadang kena penyakit pun dia akan tunjukkan symptoms macam ni. Bila kita check, potassium okay. Okay. Tapi kenapa dia tunjukkan symptoms macam ni? Dia kena penyakit. Okay. So disease can be fastly kita boleh secara fastly diagnose as a plant deficiency symptoms. Okay. Nitrogens. What is the deficiency symptoms of nitrogens? Kalau awak tengok dekat sini, apa deficiency symptoms nitrogens? Kalau awak masih ingat?
Chlorosis.
Chlorosis.
Chlorosis ni apa maksud dia?
Yellowing. Kurang chlorophyll.
Yellowing. Okay. Yellowish. Kita tengok sebab dia punya chlorophyll content sikit. Kalau awak tengok kat sini, nampak tak? Dia ada warna kekuningan. Okay. Dah 11 lebih lah. Dia baru separuh ni. Okay. So this is nitrogen deficiency symptoms. Okay. Okay. So this is a picture of plants suffer from nitrogen deficiency symptoms. Yang nombor 1 ni salah ya. Chlorosis, okay. This is chlorosis. Kalau awak tengok ini ada chlorosis. Tapi sini berlaku dekat mana? Nampak tak? Mas Rizal, awak nampak tak chlorosis dekat daun ni? Daun pokok bunga apa ni ya? Okay. Kalau awak nampak ini adalah chlorosis, tapi this is not for nitrogen deficiency symptoms. This is for iron deficiency symptoms. Sorry, saya salah masukkan. Why? Because you look at the new leaf. New leaf dia warna kuning, okay? Tapi dia ada hijau-hijau dekat urat ni. So ini menunjukkan dia experience of suffer from chlorosis symptoms. Tapi kita tengok dia punya daun yang dah matang warna hijau. Okay. So ini adalah symptoms bagi nutrients that cannot be transferred from older leaf to new leaf. Okay. So ini bukan nitrogen. Okay. So if the kernel size of the maize or corns, okay. So the plant that receive adequate nitrogen supply will produce bigger size of kernels compared to the plant that suffer from nitrogen deficiency. Okay, the left hand side this picture is paddy, pokok padi. Okay, so this is wheat ends. The other ones dekat sini yang terkrok separuh ni reduce amount of nitrogens. Okay, so okay, bila kita tengok dia ada dua simptom. Satu, dia punya growth punya tinggi keadaan lebih rendah daripada yang terima ends. Okay, the growth is stunted. And then kita tengok dia punya pokok yellowish. Okay, and then this one is plant suffer from potassiums. Potassium ke phosphorus? Phosphorus, betul lah. Phosphorus. Okay. So plant suffer from phosphorus will show accumulations of anthocyanins. The leaf become dark purplish, okay, because anthocyanins accumulates dekat bahagian sini. Okay, ini adalah pokok jagung, yang ini adalah pokok apples, pula pokok anggur. Okay, so yang ini daun pokok kentang. Okay, so this is phosphorus deficiency symptoms in corn, potatoes, and also in grapes. And this is a picture show plants suffer from potassium deficiency. So plant that suffer potassium deficiency will show browning at leaf margins. Okay, so this one, ini adalah pokok legumes, pokok pokok legumes. Okay, saya lupa pokok legumes spesies apa, but this is legumes. Okay, so these legumes plants suffer potassium deficiency. Okay, so there are a lot of fertilizer available out there that can you apply to supply nutrients for plants. Okay, so awak pernah beli baja tak? Pernah beli baja?
Tak pernah.
Tak pernah beli baja? Okay. So biasanya kalau awak beli baja tu dalam bentuk NPK. Okay. What is NPK? Nitrogen, phosphorus, and also potassium. Okay. So ini adalah untuk general knowledge saja. Okay. So apa-apa yang saya cerita kat dalam lecture notes tu untuk lebih penerangan, untuk lebih awak faham. Okay. So basically kalau soalan biasanya saya biasakan lecture note. Okay. So NPK, nitrogens can be a different form of fertilizer. Okay. For example, there are ammonia anhydrous, ammonia solutions, ammonia bicarbonates. Okay. So usually if you buy or purchase fertilizer from nursery, it will show NPK 15 or NPK 20, NPK 10, 12, 15, okay, a different ratio. Okay, why? Because different ratio of NPK will induce different growth or different physiological effect to the plants. Okay, for example, higher amount of nitrogens will induce growth and induce plant to produce leaf. Okay, so baja, kalau biasanya awak pergi kedai, awak cakap saya nak baja hijau. So kalau baja hijau maksudnya higher amount of nitrogens. Okay, so higher amount of nitrogens will induce leaf formations. Kalau awak pergi kedai nak beli, cakap nak beli baja buah, so baja buah biasanya dia tinggi kandungan fosfat. Okay, so kalau awak tengok dekat sini, ammonium anhydrous, okay, the percentage of nitrogen is 82%. Okay, so macam mana kita nak dapat 82% of nitrogen? Okay. Dekat dalam ammonia anhydrous ni, cuba kira. So macam mana kita nak determine? Kalau kat sini, fertilizer ammonia anhydrous, and then the nutrient percentage nitrogen 82%. Ammonia solutions 20 to 25%. Okay, so different form of elements will provide different amount of NPK. Okay, dekat sini ammonia. Ammonia anhydrous adalah, saya tuliskan, ya awak tak nampak. So molecular weight for ammonia NH4 adalah 17. Okay, so kita nak determine percentage of nitrogen in ammonia macam mana? So atomic mass nitrogen adalah berapa? 14. 14 bagi berapa? 17 sama dengan berapa? Akan dapat 82 lah, kan? Okay. Nitrogen, so for example, nanti kalau ini untuk general knowledge saja lah kalau awak nak kira. Okay. Awak kerja ataupun dekat rumah, ada two kind of nitrogen fertilizer. You have ammonia anhydrous and also ammonium chloride. Okay. So you have ini kalau untuk awak kerja ladang lah, kalau awak jadi agronomis, awak ada 100 hektar ladang kelapa sawit. Okay. So awak ada baja ammonia anhydrous dengan juga awak ada ammonium chloride. So dua-dua harga sama. Tapi lebih berbaloi awak apply yang mana? Ammonium anhydrous ataupun ammonium chloride?
Anhydrous.
Kenapa?
Lagi banyak.
Ya, betul. Okay. So kalau awak jadi agronomis, okay, awak nak perlu apply baja dekat pokok sawit. So awak tahu ammonium anhydrous, ammonium bicarbonate, dia punya harga sama. So lagi berbaloi awak beli and apply ammonium anhydrous. Sebab apa? Dia punya kandungan nitrogen lebih tinggi. So it can supply Sebagai contoh, kalau awak nak ada satu pokok tu, dia punya requirements nitrogens per year, for example, 1 kg. Okay, so you require a lot of ammonium bicarbonates, okay, to meet the requirements of the plants. Okay, so ada questions? Ada soalan tak? Any questions? Tak ada soalan?
No.
Tak ada.
Tak ada soalan saya nak tanya. Tak ada soalan saya nak tanya awak. Siapa nama awak ya? Nadia Amira siapa? Nadia Amira.
Saya.
Ada soalan tak? Ada soalan tak?
Saya tak
Ada soalan?
kira tu.
Awak tak pandai kira mineral?
Yang Dr.
Yang ni?
Kira tu.
Okey. So, sebagai contoh, awak nak kira ammonium anhydrous. Okay, the percentage of nitrogens in ammonium anhydrous. Okay, awak nak kira berapa nitrogens yang ada dalam ammonium anhydrous. Okay, so first apa yang awak perlu buat adalah awak perlu kira percentage of ammonium in you have to calculate the percentage of nitrogens in ammonium anhydrous. Okay, so how to calculate the nitrogens weight in ammonium anhydrous? First, you have to know the molecular weight of ammonium anhydrous. Okay, so the molecular formula of ammonium anhydrous is NH4. Okay, so the molecular weight of ammonium anhydrous NH4 adalah ada nitrogens, ada 4 hydrogens, kan? Okay. So dengan berapa? Atomic mass for nitrogens adalah 14. Tambah atomic mass for hydrogens
18.
nitrogen 14 ke 12 ya? Saya lupa lah.
14.
14. Sekejap ya. Ammonia anhydrous. Saya nak check molecular formula dia. Ammonia silap. Okay. Ammonia NH4. We have ammonia anhydrous, and ammonia anhydrous is NH3. Okay. So the molecular weight of ammonia anhydrous is, kita tambah 14 kali 3 sama dengan 17. Okay. Faham ni? The molecular weight of ammonia anhydrous is 70. So we want to calculate the percentage of nitrogens in ammonia anhydrous. So nitrogens dia ada berapa molekul? Satu saja. So molekul atomic mass for nitrogen adalah 14. Kan? So 14 bagi dengan molecular weight of ammonia anhydrous 17. So 82%. Okay. So if you have 1 kg or 1 kg of ammonia anhydrous, so the weight of nitrogen is 0.82 kg. Faham tak? Faham tak? Serta Nadia, Amira, kan? Nama awak.
Faham doktor.
Okay, faham? Okay. So, awak nak tentukan berat ammonium nitrogen in ammonium chloride. Okay, so first awak perlu tahu molecular weight of ammonium chloride. Okay, lepas tu awak kira berapa atoms yang ada dalam ammonium chloride. Okay. So lepas tu awak kira total atoms molecular weight dekat ammonium chloride berbagi dengan molecular weight. Okay, nanti awak dapat percentage. Okay. So percentage ni adalah penting untuk awak tahu berapa kandungan nutrients setiap nutrients dalam baja ni. Okay. Contoh tadi yang saya bagi tahu, awak ada 100 kilo. So awak tahu dalam 100 kilo, 82 kilo adalah nitrogen. Yang lain dia hydrogen. Okay. So any questions? Kita sambunglah minggu depan. Any questions before we end our, kita baru separuh Any questions before we end our sessions today?
Doktor, nak tanya kalau macam klorosis dengan nekrosis tu macam mana nak beza? Dia punya colour daun tu macam lebih kurang simptom dia. Macam mana nak beza?
Tak sama, lain. Klorosis, apa dia klorosis? First, apa dia klorosis?
Yellow.
Yellowing. And then apa dia necrosis? Apa dia necrosis? Necrosis hasil daripada apoptosis. Apa dia? Necrosis, apoptosis. Apa dia necrosis? Necrosis adalah cell death, kan? Okay. So pokok tu, kalau kita tengok, klorosis dengan necrosis adalah lain. Okay. So ini adalah klorosis. Okay. Tapi ini salah, ini bukan nitrogen, ini ions. So kalau kita tengok, dia klorosis, daun dia hidup. Okay. Tapi dia warna kuning. Kalau necrosis adalah daun mati. Okay. Dekat hujung-hujung ni, okay. Dekat hujung ni, daun dia kering, mati. Okay. Okay tak?
Oh,
Itulah
kalau klorosis tu tepi-tepi dia hidup lagi ya doktor?
Ya, klorosis tu daun dia warna kuning.
Tengah-tengah je lah
Okay.
kuning.
Awak cuba Google, banyak daun yang warna kuning. Okay, pokok tu kita tahu pokok dia warna hijau. Awak boleh lepas ni awak keluar tengok sekeliling awak, kalau awak nampak pokok ada daun yang warna bukanlah daun yang senescence. Kalau daun dah tua tu memanglah kita tahu dia tua, dia akan kuning kan. Sebab apa? Salah satu kenapa daun dah tua tu dia kuning, sebab degradations of chlorophyll tadilah. Tapi kalau awak tengok beza daun tua dengan daun yang klorosis ni, daun klorosis ni, daun tua tu dia akan coklat, dia akan mati. Tapi yang klorosis ni dia daun dia hidup lagi, tapi dia kuning. Okay. Kalau awak Google, banyak contoh-contoh lain yang awak boleh tengok. Necrosis adalah cell death. Okay, daun tu mati. Dia akan jadi kering warna coklat. Okay. So any other questions? Any other questions? Ni dah tahu kan what is klorosis? Klorosis yellowing. Why the leaf become yellow? Because it contains lower amount of chlorophylls. Okay. Okay. Nadia, okay? Ada questions? Ada soalan?
Okey, Doktor.
Azuri? Okay, Azuri?
Okay.
Mas Rizal, okay, Mas Rizal. Mana Mas Rizal? Syairin? Okay, Syairin?
Okey doktor.
Syairin, boleh tak? Awak tolong nanti buat WhatsApp group.
Oh group.
Lepas tu,
Boleh?
awak okay. Awak add
Okay.
semua classmate awak, lepas tu awak add saya. Nanti saya add Dr. Fauzihan juga. Sebab Dr. Fauzihan dia handle bahagian lab sessions. So, saya tak pasti macam mana Dr. Fauzihan nak buat lab sessions tu. Okay?
Okey doktor.
Okay. So, if there is no questions, saya tamatkan we